This is proper working class history.
It's basically a wooden hut in a field, isn't it?
It's not like going to some toffee-nosed cafe.
The Clarion called for all socialists to gather together, come and spread the news.
I lived in Nelson, Lancashire, and got involved in local campaigning where I lived for various things that annoyed me. I was already involved in a lot of environmental things like Friends of the Earth and Greenpeace, but I thought in order to change things, you've got to be where supposed power is. So I joined the Labour Party, got involved with the local branch where I lived, and the secretary of that branch was Stanley Iverson, who then said to me, why don't you come up to the Clarion, get involved? So I did, and that's how I started to come, really. It's in such a lovely setting, and I just absolutely love walking and cycling, and it's just a joy to me to come out here. But I started to find out about its history, and I was just astonished by the efforts that people went to set it up in the first place, and I thought I've got to be part of this. Local people, they realised that a lot of people who worked in mills and factories enjoyed coming out into the countryside and loved walking or cycling. So they decided they needed somewhere to meet. So they rented a cottage, but it wasn't big enough. So they borrowed £300 from the Weavers' Union in Nelson and bought this field, which the Clarion House now stands in, and built the Clarion House. And yes, so it's been going for 105 years. So, yeah, it's great. We organise a rota of people to work here every Sunday because we're only open on a Sunday, and we need a group of people to make the tea, obviously, and run the place. And it's run on a sort of like a cooperative basis. And we just serve tea, welcome people, and make sure that they remember the history of the Clarion, really. Steer conversations into good things like socialism and idealism and things like that. 3 pints of tea.
Please. You can sell advertising to people at
We don't
a
believe in
price.
advertising.
I know, and do you see the
Come on, get it into your head. We don't believe in it.
I feel like the guy from the city who's just turned up with a suit.
Yeah, but sometimes sticking to what you believe in is the hardest way to go, but it's the most satisfying in the end.
Sure.
Because that's the point of it.
Yeah.
Do you not think?
Yeah, totally. If you
You
truly
do
believe
agree,
that.
don't
yeah,
you?
Of course I do.
One of the reasons why I think the Clarion survives is because if you look inside, all the benches are long, so that you have to sit next to somebody, even if you don't know them, so you've got to talk to somebody else, and that's the idealistic vision of socialism, isn't it? Making a world where there's much more equality and there's less conflict, and people resolve conflict by discussion rather than killing each other. And I think that's our vision.
I started working in the Lancashire textile mills as a creeler when I was nearly 12. Conditions were terrible, accidents happened all the time, and the air was thick. When I was old enough, I joined the Weavers' Union. I fought for women's rights, organised for better wages. I joined the Independent Labour Party. Welcome to the ILP building, the Independent Labour Party.
the first in the country. I'm Selina Cooper, and here is the foundation stone I laid in 1907. It's been 5 years since then, and we've been full every night. The dance hall, concerts, speeches, the bath. It's been a right success and built with the money we raised at the bazaar, the money you raised with your own wages. And I know you've not got much to spare, so thank you. Come in.
It's been going so well. We've raised a £300 loan from the Weavers' Union, bought 3 fields, and built the Clarion house up on the hill. Come with me now. It's up above the smoke, and it's a place for us workers to relax on a Sunday. Clean air, and you can see for miles. Uplift your hearts, shake off the workday cares. We've got books, tea, bring the children.
I always had that feeling that there was something wrong with society at 16 and 17.
Land is really important. The land should belong to everybody.
Most people were glad to get out of the sun.
I worked in the food kitchen on William Street. This is what the ILP functioned for, helping the downtrodden.
The Clarion is socialism in a microcosm. It's people running and in control of the actual organisation.
Everything was going in the right direction when in 1914, war broke out. 1916 brought conscription, all men sent away to fight. But in radical Nelson, there was resistance.
Here, my father was only 16 when the Great War broke out. And when he was 18, it coincided with conscription.
We formed a branch of the No Conscription Fellowship. Nelson had the largest number of conscientious objectors per head in the country.
Now, these were all people who were in prison with my father during the First World War. And my father started off as a weaver. When he came back, he used to go around to try and get weaving jobs. And in most of the office windows, it'd have conscientious objectors need not apply. Remember, the Corporation of Nelson were mostly socialists, and some, in fact, of the councillors had already been in prison as COs. And in the end, it was the corporation or the co-op, and they got a job at the co-op as a milkman. As you can imagine, all the talk was about socialism, about the Clarion, about Vernon Street, everything involved around those things when I was younger, everything. It's in my blood. My parents always did a turn. That means they were behind the bar or making the tea, and I used to come and help. But I used to come over with them and go for the milk. We would get the milk in those days across a couple of fields and up the other side. And when I think about it, when I was only 7 or 8, handling a couple of half-gallon pails of milk on either arm must have taken some doing. My father would be lighting the fires. The fire always had to be lit. We were never without the fire in the main room. Mother would be cleaning up, and I would be going for the milk. After lunchtime, my mother would be looking up to the top of Noggath and saying, "Oh, there's a big crowd coming over the top. Jack, go and get another half-gallon of milk." And they would send me off again to bring some more milk back. In those days, there were so many people here, you used to get a ticket for your tea. And then when it was brew time, the youngsters, me included, used to go around with very large enamel jugs with a spout on. No coffee, just tea with sugar or without. And there was a proud boast that the Clarion never, ever was closed. We used to tramp over in thick snow, and there was one occasion when we couldn't see the kitchen door to get in. So how my parents managed to scrape away and eventually open up, I don't know. But we were never, ever closed.
I've been coming to the Clarion house since I was a little girl. And we used to have our sports days here every year. Welly wanging, egg and spoon, across where you can see it's flattened a little bit. That's where you saw the racing, and welly wanging was a bit further, then there'd be rounders, and then there would be prize gives. It was always after the July holidays, so people used to bring rock back or things like that after holidays and donate prizes for the children. And if not, it was a beetle drive if it was wet, and we used to sit inside and do beetle drive, which I don't think a lot of people understand.
I don't even know what that is. What is it?
It's where you throw dice, and it's a 6 gives you its body, a 5 gives it your head, and so on until you've got a complete beetle.
Oh, okay.
I've been coming intermittently since 1948. Over the last 10 years, I've started coming more or less every Sunday, and I'm doing what they call the cafe run now, and Clarion House is a favourite place. There was always an argument about which way the wind was blowing. The Yorkshire gang, of course, come from the east, and the Lancashire lot come from the west. So we would say, "John, you have a headwind." "Oh, no, I haven't, I have a tailwind." I said, "What we need is a weather vane, so we'll settle these arguments." So I got permission to build that weather vane. I had the gold leaf nicked from some big local authority who could well afford it. And then one day a lady said, "You've headwind home." I said, "No, I'm not. If you look at the weather vane, you'll see that I have a tailwind." I looked up for the weather vane, and it had gone. So that Sunday I was blazing mad. So I did another one, and but this time we couldn't afford the gold leaf. I said, "So it's a good gold paint on it at the moment," and so far it's survived.
What's brought you here?
I'm following Tony. He's introducing me to the old ways.
But like Tony says, we do like to do these history tours as well.
Ah.
We like to teach our young ones about our history.
I learn a lot on these rides, I must admit.
Life skills, therapy.
Right. See ya.
It's amazing how many people in the Pendle area don't know this place is here, so through the walking festival it's good to put a walk on to come to a place like this to get people to maybe come back in the future.
And the walk leads just on your left-hand side there. Thank you very much indeed, I'll do that.
We come from Blackpool, over to Waddington, and then up the shoulder of Pendle Hill. Then we're going to have some dinner in Whalley, then do Whalley Nab, and then back to Blackpool. It's about 85 miles, I think.
We got lots of stuff inside telling you all about the history and what they were aiming for. It's some kind of getting everybody together in a socialist kind of thing. I don't know much about it.
That's what cycling's about as well, isn't it?
That's how it started.
It's getting out, doing some exercise and being with like-minded people. You know, and just having a good time along the way as well, isn't it?
It was about working class people riding together, weren't it? I think back in the day when Clarion House was actually first thought of, I think.
See you now.
Now we've got lots of harmless little insects and bees, and we need to build an house for them. So what I thought, we build something here.
If we give them lots of different things, so some will like the grass, some will like the stones.
Some will like the sticks.
Exactly.
I was brought up on a housing estate in Burnley called Bleak House. That was its real title. And my dad was secretary of the tenants' organisation. So they arranged trips out for pensioners and for kids. And just down the bottom, there's a boating place and pleasure grounds. And he'd organise a coach. We'd go there and walk up here as well. I don't remember when I first came here, but it was a long time ago. I'm always dodgy on dates. It was sometime in the mid-50s. During the 1984-85 miners' strike, Pendle decided to support Clipstone Colliery. Clipstone Colliery is in the Midlands, in Nottinghamshire, and the majority of miners in Nottingham carried on working. And the people who were on strike were in a really difficult position. The people where the majority worked, the miners there, were getting abuse. There were no support structure for them. And so Pendle looked after Clipstone Colliery. And we brought them up here, raised money a time or two, and we'd have a weekend here. They'd stop with local families. And the grass was cut farther back then. We'd play rounders, have picnics. And then on a Sunday evening before they went back down to the Midlands, we'd take them over to Blackpool to the pub and have a good sup and then they were back home in the coach. This place has had many, many interactions with the labour movement. And it's that is the essence of this building, not the fact that it's a wooden hut. It's that joining together.
There we are, Clarion Heather.
I had joined the Labour Party in the early 80s, and through the Labour Party I met people who were also members of the Clarion House.
What a beautiful day.
At the time, there was quite an ageing membership. And in essence, they recruited a group of young people through the Labour Party who they thought were suitable to pass the Clarion House on to, people they could trust to look after the place. We do need to have more younger people involved, without a doubt, because we're now all getting to the age, that the older people were when they recruited us.
1, 2, 3. Brilliant. Okay.
But the house itself is in absolutely wonderful shape. It's now got indoor plumbing in the shape of toilets, which is a great relief to many, many people. I think there will be people to hand it on to in the future. It's far too valuable to lose.
come here on your own, you can end up having a natter with folk, you know, that you don't even know. It's a very sociable place, you know.
Everybody's welcome. No matter what their beliefs and their politics, they're still welcome.
It's a special place. It was built for ordinary working people to enjoy the countryside. And I can't think of anywhere else I'd rather come on a Sunday afternoon than the Clarion House.